we know that we have learnt about the reactivity series of metals. Having this knowledge, you can easily understand how a metal is extracted from its ore. Some of the metals are found in the earth's crust in the free state, while some are found in the form of their compounds. The metals at the bottom of the series are very less reactive. They are found in free state, for example gold, silver, platinum, etc. Copper is also one of the example of them. Copper and silver are found in the combined state. They are sulfides or oxide ores. The metals that appear on the top of the activity series means you can see potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium and aluminium. Potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium and aluminium are very reactive and they occur naturally in as a free elements. They are not occurring in the form of compounds. They have their own existence. The metal in the middle of the activity series means zinc, iron, lead, copper. Zinc, iron, lead, copper. These elements occur in the middle of the activity series and these are moderately reactive, while the elements gold and silver gold and silver are occur in the are found in the native state. Means see, we have classified the elements as the sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, aluminium. These are reactive elements and can be separated with the process of electrolysis, while zinc, iron, lead, these are moderately reactive elements and they are found in the crust in the forms of oxides, that is oxygen is mixed with them, or in the form of sulfides or even in the form of carbonates, while gold and silver are found in the native states. Thus, on the basis of reactivity, we have grouped the elements into different categories. So you can see here, on the basis of reactivity, we have grouped the elements on the base. The first, metals of low reactivity, metals of medium reactivity, and metals with high reactivity. See, three categories are metals of low reactivity, metals of medium reactivity, and metals of high reactivity. Different techniques are used to be used for obtaining the metals falling in each category. Several steps are involved in the extraction of pure metal from their ores. See, concentration of ore, it is distinguished into three types: metals of high reactivity, metals of medium reactivity, and metals of low reactivity. Now, highly reactive metals are the pure metals like sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, etc. And we can obtain them with the process of electrolysis of molten ore. Now, metals of medium reactivity occurs in the form of carbonates or in the form of sulfide. If they occurs in the form of carbonate, means calcium consisting, then calcination can be done and the sulfide ores can be separated by the roasting process. After these processes, we get the oxide of metal. We have to reduce them, means we have to remove the oxides of the particular metals and then we can obtain the pure metal, while the metals of low reactivity are found in the sulfide forms, means they are in the form of sulfides. So we have to obtain the metal by roasting process or by refining or purifying the metal. Now see, enrichment of ores. Enrichment of ores. Ores mined from the earth are usually very contaminated, means they are having lot of impurities in them, such as soil, sand, etc. We call these impurities as gangue. Now see, these impurities we have to remove in order to obtain the pure metal from the ore. The processes used for removing such impurities, the processes used for removing the gangue from the ore are based on the differences between the physical properties and chemical properties of the gangue and the ore. Different separation techniques are accordingly employed in order to separate the metal from the gangue. Now see, extracting metals low in the activity series. Now metals low in the activity series are very unreactive. For example, cinnabar, that is mercury sulfide, HGS, is an ore of mercury. Means we have to separate mercury. In order to obtain the metal mercury, we have to separate it from HGS in order to obtain Hg, that is mercury. So when it is heated in air, it is first converted to mercuric oxide, that is HgO. You can see the reaction. See, first we are having HGS, that is mercury sulfide or cinnabar. Now when it is reacted in presence of air, that is CO2, we are heating it, so we get mercury oxide, that is HgO, and also sulfur dioxide, that is SO2. Similarly, in order to obtain the copper from the copper sulfide in nature, we have to heat it in air. So when we heat copper sulfide in presence of air, then we get copper oxide and sulfur dioxide. Now this copper oxide is again reacted with Cu2s and we get the pure element copper and SO2 gas. This process is made for extracting metals low in the activity series. Now for extracting metals in the middle of the activity series, we have to consider another metal. The metals in the middle of the activity series such as zinc, iron, lead, copper, these are very moderately reactive elements. So they are usually present as sulfides or carbonates in nature. So it is easier to obtain a metal from its oxide as compared to its sulfides and carbonates. Therefore, prior to reduction, the metal sulfides and carbonates must be converted into metal oxides, and the sulfide ores are converted into oxides by the process of heating very strongly in the presence of air. This process is known as roasting. So roasting is the process of heating sulfides and to convert them into oxides in the presence of heat. And the process, and when the carbonate ores are changed into oxides by heating strongly in limited air, then the process is known as calcination. In calcination, limited air is required, while in the process of roasting excess air is required. So the chemical reaction that takes place during roasting and calcination of zinc ores can be shown. See, when two atoms of zinc sulfide reacts in presence of air, or when we heat it, then we get zinc oxide along with sulfur dioxide. And in the process of calcination is meant for the metals which are in the forms of carbonates, while roasting process is used for the metals which occurs or which are in the form of the sulfides. Now in calcination process, zinc carbonate is provided with limited heat, then we get zinc oxide and carbon dioxide gases formed. Thus the metal oxides are reduced to the corresponding metals by using suitable reducing agents such as carbon. For example, when zinc oxide is heated with carbon, it is reduced to metallic zinc, that is ZNO, that is zinc oxide is reacted with carbon C, then we get metal zinc and carbon monoxide gas. Now we are familiar with the processes of oxidation, reduction explained in the first chapter. Now while obtaining metals from the compounds, it is known as the reduction process. Besides coke, that is carbon, to reduce metal oxides to metals, sometimes displacement reaction can also be used. Now this reaction is meant for the highly reactive metals such as sodium, calcium, aluminium, etc., where they act as reducing agent and displaces the metal that possess very low reactivity. Now see, for example, if when magnesium dioxide is heated in aluminium powder, means 3 atoms of magnesium oxide, that is MnO2, when reacted with aluminium powder, that is Al, then we get 3 Then we get Mn, that is manganese, along with aluminium oxide, that is Al2O3. Now see, can you identify the substances that are getting oxidized and reduced? Yes. These displacement reactions are exothermic reaction. In all these reaction, heat is given out. Amount of heat is evolved in a large amount, and metals are produced in the molten state. So therefore, this type of reactions are termed as thermit reaction. Here you can consider the example of ferrous oxide, that is, or iron oxide. When reacted with aluminium, then we get the iron in the pure state along with the aluminium oxide, and heat is given out. Now the next process is for the extracting metals towards the top of the activity series. Now for these processes we use the electrolytic process for the separation of the metals. In this process, what we do, this process is meant for the elements like sodium, magnesium, calcium, etc. They can be obtained by the electrolysis of their molten chlorides. The metals are deposited at the cathode, means at the negatively charged electrodes, while non-metals are deposited at the anode on the positively charged electrode. Similarly, aluminium is obtained by the electrolytic reduction and aluminium oxide. At cathode, sodium plus electron gives you sodium, that is NO, means one electron is given out, while at anode chlorine is reduced, that is accepting 2 electrons from the sodium. Thus similarly, aluminium is obtained from the electrolytic reduction of aluminium oxide. In this process, one rod is positively charged, one rod is negatively charged. Positively charged rod is anode, while negatively charged rod is cathode. And the positively charged ions gets deposited at the cathode, negatively charged electrons or ions gets deposited at the anode. And due to this process, we can obtain the pure aluminium from the aluminium oxide. The electrolyte in the solution of acidified copper sulfate, the anode is impure copper, whereas the cathode is a strip of pure copper. On passing electric current, pure copper is deposited at the cathode, if we consider the process for the copper sulfate solution. Now refining of metals. The metals produced by various reduction processes are not in pure form. They contain lots of impurities or the gangue, and it becomes essential to remove such impurities from the metals. So the process of electrolytic refining is used. We can for this process we can consider many metals like copper, nickel, silver, gold, etc. These all the metals are refined using the electrolytic processes. In these processes, a solution of the particular metal is used as an electrolyte. The apparatus setup is as shown, where we have considered the example of separating copper from its solution. On passing the heat, what happens on passing the current through the electrolyte? Pure metals from the anode dissolves into the electrolyte, and an equivalent amount of metal from the electrolyte is deposited on the cathode. The soluble impurities go into the solution, whereas the impurities which is insoluble settle down at the bottom of the anode, and therefore anode turns little bit muddy, but it becomes easy for the separation of such metals from the electrolytic solution. The next is corrosion. Corrosion. See, in this, for understanding this process, for understanding the concept of corrosion clearly, we will consider 3 test tubes and place clean iron nails in each of the test tube. Label this test tube as test tube A, test tube B, and test tube B. Now pour some water in test tube A and close it with the cork. Pour boiled distilled water in test tube B. Add 1 ml of oil and cork it. You will see that the oil is floating on water and prevent the air from dissolving in the water. You can see in test tube B that there is 1 layer of oil and the 1 layer of water. Now Put some anhydrous calcium chloride CaCl2 in test tube C and cork it or close it. Anhydrous calcium chloride will absorb the moisture from the test tube and if any from the air. Leave this test tube for few days and then observe. Then what you will see, you will observe that the iron nails in test tube E, that the iron nails in the test tube B gets rusted in the presence of water. In the test tube E, the nails are exposed to both air also as well as water also. In test tube B, the nails are only exposed to water because on the upper there is a layer of oil. So in test tube B, the nails are only exposed to water, and in the test tube C, they are exposed to dry air. What does this tells about the conditions under which articles rust? Means that in these processes, if we react metals with different type of solution, then the result is always different. If we expose it more to atmospheric conditions such as air, then a metal forms or they get corrode or they get rust with some time. So in order to prevent this, we have to prevent them by painting, oiling, greasing, galvanizing, chrome plating, anodizing or making alloys. Now what is galvanization? Galvanization is a method in which we can protect metals like steel and iron from the rusting by coating them with a thin layer of zinc. By galvanizing article, we can prevent the rusting and even the zinc coating is broken. Alloying is a process. Alloying is a process in which it is a very good method of improving the properties of metal. We can get the desired properties by this method. For example, iron, we know that iron is a widely used metal, but it is never used in its pure form because pure iron is very soft and it stretches out very easily when it is hot. But it is mixed with a small amount of carbon, it becomes very hard and strong. Therefore, iron is mixed with nickel, chromium, etc. in order to obtain the stainless steel, which we can use for our daily purposes. And that by alloying the iron, we prevent it from rusting, and also it becomes hard. In fact, the properties of any metal can be changed if it is mixed with some other substance. The substance may be added as metal or it may also be added as a non-metal. An alloy is just thus a homogeneous mixture of two or more metals or a metal and a non-metal. It is prepared by melting the primary metal and then dissolving the other element in definite proportion and then cooled at room temperature. Now see, if one of the metal is mercury, then the alloy is known as an amalgam. The electrical conductivity and melting point of an alloy is less than that of pure metals. It is comparatively very low as compared to that of the pure metals. For example, you can consider the brass. Brass is also an alloy and it is made from the other metals like copper, zinc and bronze. An alloy of copper and tin, that is Cu and Sn, are bad conductors of electricity, whereas copper is used for making electrical circuits. Means the properties of alloy are different from that of the metals or non-metals that are used for preparing an alloy. Thus, we can say that solder an alloy of lead and tin has a low melting point and used for welding electrical wires together. Okay, yeah, we have ended up with our lesson number 3. Okay, thank you.